Okay, hey everybody, it's Dina from the partnership. Thank you for letting us know you couldn't hear any audio. We fixed that. And bear with me for just a second here. I need to change a setting so that we can save the recording of this. Maybe. We're using a different computer today. Sorry about this. We'll get started in just a second. All right. Can everybody hear now? Can you type in the chat or question box if you can hear, and also let us know if you can see the screen. All right. I got yes, can hear, can see, good. Okay. All right. Well, the good news about today's webinar, that's right, I said this and then we didn't have any audio. So we are today, in addition to doing our Career Connect case closure webinar, we are celebrating the end of February and March, which is supposed to come in like a lion with a little snow tomorrow. So there's our ferocious lion on the screen. Just a reminder for those of you who may not have been on one of these webinars before, everybody is in listen-only mode to reduce background noise. So please go ahead and type your questions in the question box. We will keep an eye on that and answer them as we're going through the different items today. We have not posted this material on the Zendesk site yet, but we'll have it up there probably by end of day tomorrow for sure. You do, if you, on your webinar, your little webinar tool that you should have up on your screen, I don't think you can see mine because it gets hidden from you, but there's a little place for handouts. We do have the 3 procedures that we're going to go over today in the handouts. So you can download them from there. Otherwise, they'll be on the Zendesk site, like I said, by the end of the day tomorrow. We are recording the webinar, and once we get the recording posted, we will also put that up on the help desk. And all of our previous webinars and webinar material are also on the help desk. So if you missed any webinars, please go back or just want refreshers. They are all up there for you. So today we're going to be covering 3 sort of related topics. So we're going to be covering adding credentials to the WIOA credentials bar, and Gabby is going to walk us through that. Then we're going to talk about adding employment to the WIOA employment bar, and Patty's going to cover that. And then finally, Christy is going to go over the case closure and exit process. And then I'm going to come back on at the very end and just talk about some relevant reports, including, I'm excited to announce that as of yesterday, the day since last active service report is working in our Career Connect test site and should be up by the end of this week in the site. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to go into our test site and show you how to pull that report, and then talk about a couple of the other related reports. So that's our agenda for today, and without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Gabby to talk about credentials. Oops. That, and take it away, Gabby.
Hello, everyone. Basically, this is just a procedure on how to enter a credential in the system. As we all know, credentials usually attained when clients go to training, whether it's an OJT, an apprenticeship, an ITA training. So this is an explanation on how to enter a credential on the system, specifically if the client went to training and obtain from an ITA. So basically, when you're trying to enter a credential, you're gonna go to the staff profile, and then you're gonna go to case management profile. Then you go to programs, and then credentials. So you should be able to see the credentials, the credential bar there. Just keep in mind that there might be a service already open in the system that you would have to close. So obviously, by the time you're getting ready to enter the credential that was obtained during the program, you have to close the service. So basically, once you have, once you have your customer and you are on the credential bar, you just go to where it says office location, and you would pick their information. And just make sure that there's 3 different things that you have to complete under the credential information. So under the credential received, you have to specify what type of credential they have received. Some of the options could be a bachelor's, an associate. In this case, it's an occupational skills license, also refers as just a license. And then the other one that is commonly used, I believe, is the occupational skills credential. So in this example, the occupational skills license is a CDL license. So what we would like for everybody to do is to specify under where it says other credential, who is actually the body that accredited the credential. So if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see it on this chart actually, that in this case, the accrediting body for the CDL is the Secretary of State. And that's why it says Secretary of State Class A CDL driver's license. Whenever the auditors or your program coordinators or regional managers are looking at your files on Career Connect for your customers, they should be able to know what type of credential the client has obtained. And that's the main reason why we would like for you guys to enter this information.
Yeah, this is Dina. Sorry to interrupt, but just so you know, that other credential field, we're using that field to capture that information. It's not required on the screen, but we are requiring it via this procedure to put this additional information in. And I believe, and we can check this when I show reports, that that information will also show in the reports. You can see that information in the report when you run your credentials report. So it's not required. The screen's not going to make you put that information in, but we want that information in, and we will be looking for it. So this is important to note.
I also have 2 questions.
Oh, okay, go ahead. We're going to answer the question. Go ahead.
Okay. It says, why do you have to close the service? Clients often earn multiple credentials while they're in training. Are we saying?
Depending on what type. Okay, so here's the idea is that the actual credential that you're putting in here is not your certificate of completion, but it would be the actually industry recognized credential. So in some cases where you may have an IT program that has multiple software that the client is learning, and they may obtain one certificate of completion, and they may obtain different credentials. For the most part, some of those individual credentials are going to be accredited by different entities like CompTIA or Microsoft. whoever it is that is actually accrediting that credential, then that's what you would indicate in here. So we wouldn't necessarily want you to enter the certification of completion again. It would be the actual industry recognized credential that the client is taking with them to apply for employment.
But if they, like, let's say they're getting multiple credentials and they get one, like, I don't know, I'm going to make this up because I don't know IT, but like you get C+ and you get C++.
Right, then you can enter 3 different credentials.
Right, but do you want them to wait until they're completely done? Or if they, like, what if they're getting them, but they're still, like, they get one, but they're still in training to get the others?
So if
you decide to close the service first. I think that was the question.
Oh, okay. So basically, if the training, and see, IT is a little different than every other industry for the most part. So if they're still in training and they just acquire one industry recognized credential, then you can still keep the service open until they fully complete all 3 or 4 or whatever number of classes they need to take. But for most programs, it's probably just going to be 1 credential. And that was the reason why I said that you should close the service first. What's the next question?
It says, can I go back and add specific information in the other credential box?
Yes, you can, but it's not a requirement. So the procedure is going to affect today going forward. So if you already have clients that have earned credentials and you want to enter that information, you're able to enter it. But if but basically this is going forward.
And you may not, you actually the screen may prevent you from going back and adding it. When we pull up a customer, we can maybe try that.
Okay.
We can pull up a customer and then see if we can edit it or not. I might know a little workaround trick to get it to let us do it.
Okay, that's
okay.
Was that the only thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's continue. So then after that, you would have to click on verify. And obviously there you'll have a different selection of what kind of documentation you have on the file that verifies that this credential was actually earned. So then you will click there, and then you would enter the date that the credential was received. Also there is, I added a little,
sorry, I moved it to the next step.
Oh, okay. So they also, what we would like for you guys to do is to attach the activity to the credential, so it's clear on how the credential was paid for and how it relates to the services that the client received. So in this case, it was an apprenticeship, so that's the type of activity that was attached, that is attached in this example. But for the most part, usually for CDL, it would be an ICA, so it would be the occupational classroom training. Once all the information has been entered, then you can go ahead and click Save, and then the system will go back to the credential bar, and then it will show your information. So this is the screen is showing here what you would actually see after the credential has already been entered. So basically, part of the reason also why we want you guys to enter the credentials is because this is going to count towards your skill gains attainment, which is one of your performance measures. In addition to that, we have attached an appendix of different industry recognized credentials for every occupation that we fund under the partnership. So where you see, you should be able to see the occupation, and next to it is the approved credential. So for the ones that are not very specific, like it just says industry recognized credential, then we don't have a very specific credential. It just has to be industry recognized. But for the other programs that that have other approved credentials, then those are the credentials that are mostly that are usually the clients get when they go to training. So those are the ones that we were looking for. Also, there's some credentials that they're issued by different government entities, and that basically would not change. So that's the law. So those credentials will have to come from there. So you can take a few minutes and look through the list and let me know if there's any questions. But again, we will be posting all this information in the help desk. Any additional questions?
No, not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Patty, want to show them about employment?
Oh, hi everyone. I have the in-program employment tracking procedure to present to you. And in our overview, we're basically talking about how to add the employment in the employment bar. And only unsubsidized employment should be added, and that includes on-the-job training. No work experience should be put there. If you have work experience, and I'm talking to the youth agencies, you should have a work experience service activity open and a case note to attach to it, but it should not be entered in the employment bar. So we're going to go through this procedure. Also, one thing I want to add to this is that if you're using Mondat or you go into IWDS and you see it, you see, placement through that screen or whatever vehicle you're using, you still have to obtain the employment verification and enter the information in the employment bar. Don't try to exit somebody with just the Mondat. Put it in the employment bar. Again, I'm stressing, put it in the employment bar. Okay, so below the overview, we have our navigation. And basically, it's just, how to get to the employment bar by going to staff profiles, case management, and this program. Again, there's a reminder, only unsubsidized employment. That includes OJT, while participating in WIOA goes here. Prior employment needs to be captured in the background information under My Individual Profile. So that means if you have somebody with prior experience, do not put it in the employment bar, because that is only for in-program. While they're active with you, employment goes there. Everything else goes in the background. So let's begin with actual procedures. This is a screenshot where you have to enter the employment and the employer information. You would fill in the employer name, and you have to verify. Oh, I guess I can use the pointer. Sorry. Here's the verify. Below the verify, pretty cut, to the point here. You only have these to select. Pick whatever's appropriate. Depending on the company name, you could also search for your. I'm sorry, not the company name. I think I saw wrong. You could also search for your employment history here. If this person had gone back to this, I guess you would have had to put it in the background before. And let's say they went back to the company at a higher paying, salary or a different title, supervisor or manager now, and it was in his prior work history. And if it was there, you could have searched it by clicking on here. Or you could have gone here if it was from an internal job order placement. For those of you who have job developers that are putting in jobs,
That's not gonna work
it's
yet.
not working yet?
Not, well, yeah, until we,
Sorry,
well, what the
strike
resume
that.
procedures.
That's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. Strike that. Let's go down then to point 2. Okay, again, everything that you add in here, you have to verify. So we're verifying, we already verified the target, and we verified, how he got his employment, I guess. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, here it
All
is.
right. You have to enter, again, wherever your asterisk is, it's required, the information, but the PIN number is optional. If you have it, it'd be great, but if you don't, you can bypass that. We do need the address, though. We need the city, we need the state, and I know there's no asterisk there, but we do need that information. The county, parish is, you know, we don't have that. Zip code, and if you didn't know how to find the zip code, you could always do the UPS thing, USPS, sorry. And then you have to search for your NICS code here by clicking on that link.
And some of you may have already noticed this when you've done it, employers before, but let's say you start typing in the employer name, you'll, like, for example, this one is Target. A lot of times the large employers are going to come up and you'll be able to pick the address.
Yep.
And then it'll autofill a lot of this information, and you just need to verify that it's accurate for your particular customer and complete anything that's not there. But it pulls from like a national database of employers. So.
Okay. So again, there's a reminder here. You have to complete all the information. You can't save the employment record without completing the fields with the red asterisk. So we're going to go down. So when looking for your NICS code, you would enter in this box here. When you click on it, just enter your position or
Industry.
what was that? Industry, sorry. Here, and then it's going to, if you just type in a couple of letters, it's gonna, there's a drop down that usually will appear that falls within that industry that you could pick from. Once you found what you're looking for, you would hit the search button, and it will populate the NICS code for you, and it's gonna look like this. So I guess I had a retail position, and the industry was department stores, and this is what came up. It will also ask you for a primary contact name and phone number. Notice there's asterisks. You have to put that in there. Primary employer contact email is not with an asterisk. You can bypass that. Is this an employer? Is this employer a federal contractor? Is not required, but you should answer it if you know it. So once we found the NICS code, you have to enter the occupation. And so here's where you put in the job title. It's a cashier. You select here the occupation, and it's going to give you the SOC code there. And cashiers will appear there. Is this a green job? Most of our jobs are not, but if it is, you would say yes. In this case, it's a no. It requires you to put in the hours per week. It requires you the hourly wage. It requires you a job start date. In most cases, your person's going to currently be employed. In this scenario, if they're currently employed. But if your person, let's say you got them a job and the job ended and you're working to replace him, don't forget to fill in the job end date then, okay? But in this case, we're pretending he's still working, so he's currently working. We check that box. There is a reason for leaving. That was if, you know, the job ended for whatever reason. And then additional information on reason for leaving, not living, you would enter here. But, and again, our scenario, he's currently working, so we're going to go down. And in the next section, though, you have to answer the job duties. You could, by speaking to the customer, figure out what the job duties are, or you could click on this link here, and it will give you a general description of the occupation, and you can then, you know, cut and paste whatever you don't need to take out or rearrange your description. Below that, you have the primary employer. All of these are in red asterisks. You have to answer them, whether they're a yes or a no, but you have to answer these questions. Number 7, it's going to ask you if it's training related. This is all based on if you had an ITA open. So Career Connect will set training related employment based on whether or not the customer received training. So if you didn't get training, it's going to automatically set it as a no. So don't be alarmed by that. But if you do have an ITA open and it's training related, let's say it's truck driver, you know, Schneider or whatever, and you got a truck driver job and you see a no, then that's a problem and we need to fix it immediately.
They can update it.
Oh, they can update it now?
Yeah, they can update
okay.
it now, yeah.
It was closed before, sorry. So
Yeah.
you can
Oh,
fix
it says that in there, yeah.
Okay.
You can update. So if you believe that it was training related, but the system sets it as no, you can change it to yes. Or vice versa, but I don't think too many people will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Then last, right under this, training related, there is a very important question here. Add to employment history. You always want to say yes. And you'll want to say yes because it's going to help you skip a step when you're doing your closure. If you don't say yes, you're going to have to put in all your information in again. So remember, say yes, yes, yes. And at the end is the result. Now that the employment has been entered, you can update your resume and begin tracking your client and plan for your closure/exit. Do we have any questions?
Yes. So there's one question, does customized training count as unsubsidized employment?
No, because that's subsidized,
Okay.
Well, they're already employed.
not for customers, not always.
Oh, I'm sorry, customized. I'm thinking incumbent worker. Sorry.
Okay, and then can an internship be included in OJT? And that,
No,
No.
an OJT is an OJT, an internship is separate.
okay, and then can training related be changed from no to yes? And we just said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other
This is
questions?
it.
Okay.
All right. So Christy, and then I'll watch the question.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to show you all how to complete the closure. And I'm actually going to pull up a customer here. So just give me 1 second while I pull up my person.
Mhm. Yeah. I believe that.
Okay, so hopefully you all, most of you, I'm sure, have all been doing, well, I know you all have been doing closures. I don't know how many of you actually been doing it yourself or it's someone else's responsibility in your office. But I'm just going to walk you through how to complete a closure. And also in our procedures, I also want to point out to one thing. There's a couple of things you need to do before you actually complete the closure. So here is a procedure. We're saying each participant must be closed when they're no longer in need of services, and all customers in WIOA for 90 days without an active service must be exited from WIOA. So that's not new for you all. And then also, Dina's going to, at the end of this, she's going to show you how to run the day since last active service report so that you can be on top of your exit. So before you complete the closure, these 5 things need to make sure that you have completed in Career Connect. 1, you need to make sure that the IEP, ISS has been closed. If you need help with that, we also have a procedure for that. Number 2, you need to make sure all services have been closed, and it gives you an explanation how to do that. For youth, you also need to make sure that you're entering your post-test in the literacy and numeracy section of Career Connect. Number 4, just as Gabby just covered, you need to make sure any credential earned during the program has been updated. And number 5, as Patty just covered, you need to make sure that your employment is updated in the employment bar. So once you've done those 5 things, if it applies to your customer, you can go ahead and create your closure. Now, if you're doing like a negative exit, maybe not everything applies, but you need to make sure that you go through that list before you complete the closure. So let me just pull up my person here, and I'm going to click on, I'm going to click on here so that I can expand the application. And I'm going to go down to closure. Let's make sure that he doesn't have any credentials. He does have an employment, so it's already there. You can see because it has a 1 there that there's something added there, but we can just click on it to show you that it's there. So there's the employment. So we're going to go ahead and click on closure. I'm going to click on create closure. And then here, the office location is already selected. You need to select everything that has the red asterisk. And for this accountability closure status, we're going to put that neither condition applies because we want you all to select this because we really shouldn't have either one of these situations happening. And in this case, the closure reason is entered unsubsidized employment. And just an FYI.
Yeah, can you show them on the procedure? Go back.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the procedure with our exit reasons.
Sorry, I'm like, this thing is like.
No, it's okay. Everybody close their eyes.
I know, sorry. Okay, here we are at Appendix A. This is at the last page of our procedure. It has the positive, it has all the exit reasons categorized positive, neutral, negative, and then we also have a section that says do not use. So again, this is going to be posted on the help desk, so if you need this as a reference.
Yeah, and 2 really important things. You'll notice that some of these exit reasons say use only in capitals really big. They also say use only on the screen. Those exit reasons can only be used for youth. Unfortunately, the system doesn't prevent you from selecting them for adult and dislocated, so please pay attention to that. If you're selecting one of those exit reasons, that'll only be for youth. And then for the ones here that are listed as do not select, we are working to get those inactivated in CareerConnect so they'll no longer appear on the list. But for right now, they are still showing up. And so just please don't select those. They're really not applicable. And we just don't want people to use them accidentally.
Okay. Thanks, Tina.
Sure.
And then also, I just want to point out here at this section, when you, in the procedure, it's also pointed out, if your customer has gone over 120 days without a service, you will not be able to select the case closure reason. So we've had a few tickets come to the help desk or just people asking questions about this. If your customer has gone over 120 days, you will not be able to select this. But you will have to complete the closure screen no matter what. If the state has to complete the exit for you, someone at the partnership is going to ask you to complete the closure page regardless, because the state cannot complete the exit without this information. So the next section says outcome information. The school status is for all customers, but you obviously need to verify that for the youth. And in this case, he's not attending high school, was a high school graduate. And for the youth placement, it's only going to come up for youth customers, but the youth placement will only appear for youth, and the placement date is required if the youth placement at exit is anything except none of the above. And so I'm going to show you the choices here. So if you enter post-secondary education as your youth placement and exit, you need to make sure you have a date that corresponds with that reason. And again, everything needs to be verified. So the next section, employment information. in this scenario, the person has entered employment, and so we want to answer yes. You can answer other things, so we want to make sure we're answering yes. The job is already here, but I'm going to click on Add Employer so that you can see what Patty was just referring to when you add the job. If you don't click yes, add to employment history, it will not. You can search here. You could click on Search Individual Employment History, and the job should pull up. So here you can choose, like if you said no, don't add to the work history, you wouldn't be able to select this. But since it's already selected, I'm not going to. I just wanted to show you all that. Oh, I already have it up there. Okay, so here it is, Target. He's working at Target, our favorite place. And then once you make sure you have all that, I'm just going to go ahead and click on Save. And once you do that, your customer is closed or exited from Career Connect and IWDS. And if you can see here, a closure date will populate right here in the closure section and in the exit outcome. So if your customer is over 120 days, this exit outcome is not going to populate. We still need you to complete, that's how we know that the closure screen is complete, and that so that they can go ahead with the exits that are over 120 days. Click on this one. Okay, and now you can see your exit reason if you click on this exit outcome.
Create closure and exit, and they're under 120 days is one process. You're closing them out and exiting them, and it populates both places. Were there any questions?
No questions. No questions. Okay, fine.
Fine, we're doing a good job. We're everything. All right. So, Tina again, and I'm just going to go over. Woo, cheers. I mentioned that we're very excited to let you know that the there's a question. Sorry, go ahead.
Do we print out the closure page? Yes.
Oh.
Yes, please print the closure page for your file.
You know what,
we'll update the procedure before we put that out on the help desk.
Yep, thank you.
Add follow-up service.
And add a follow-up service.
So yes, it's required.
For youth, we're going to add a follow-up service.
And that's in our next webinar.
Yeah, we'll be doing another webinar specifically on follow-up. There's an updated policy coming out, so once that's ready, we'll do that webinar. All right, so I mentioned, so hopefully you can see why we did all these three together, because they're all kind of part of the same process. If I can find it. Hold on a second. Sorry, I got something in my way here. Okay, I'm going to show you the report. I can find my report. There we are. Okay, so I mentioned that, and I'm in our test site. So as of this afternoon, this hasn't hit the site that you guys use yet, but it's, like I said, it should be there. I would guess maybe even tomorrow and probably by the end of the week. But the if folks remember, our days since last active service report in Career Connect was not pulling correctly because it was pulling whether it was a quote-unquote active service or not. They made a fix for us, and they added a filter. And so on the help desk, where's help desk? Oh, here it is. On the help desk, I updated yesterday our report instructions. You'll see the updated date with the new instructions on how to run the days since last active service report. And then I'll show you how to run it. So this one's a PDF. You have to pull the PDF up, but I recommend, I actually have this printed and like on my bulletin boards, like I use this all the time. So if you're somebody who runs reports or should be running reports in Career Connect, definitely print this out but it's towards the bottom here because we just updated it. And I think I noted that it was new. The days since last active service. So here is how to do it. And you'll notice it says important because there's a particular filter here that you have to set to yes. And that's what they added for us. And that filter will make it so only it brings back active services. It will exclude support services. The other thing that's really important to keep in mind is if you have open services, let's see if I can make this any bigger. Sorry. Oops, that went the wrong way. So if you have any, so there's a filter here, and I'm going to show this to you in just a second. You have to set that to yes to get only your active services. The other thing that's important to remember, and I put this in a note over here, if you have open services, your customer is not going to show in the report because the system looks at that as an active service. So you gotta remember to be closing your same-day services, otherwise you're going to get in trouble with this report. It won't pull if you have an open same-day service. And then when you have to close that service, it's going to be the same day you opened it, and then suddenly you might be in a 120-day situation that you didn't catch. So I note here, this report instructions document also has a way to run your open same-day service report. Those instructions are also in here. So I would say run that one first, close out any open same-day services, and then run this report. And I'm going to show you now how to run this report. If I can find, are we in?
Oh, it's in the bracket, yeah.
It's in.
Explorer.
Oh,
The other
Explorer.
one, yeah.
Another Explorer. Okay, so this report is, okay, it's a caseload report. And it is called Days Since Last Active Service. And again, I'm in our test site, so this isn't real data, so I'm not embarrassing anybody. Although I might, are there any questions while
Yes, there are.
Oh,
questions.
good. Okay, great. So, go ahead with the questions while we wait for the report to load.
Okay, so we did, it says, also, after their exit, do we open up a follow-up service? We said yes, we want to open the follow-up service. And then it says add a follow-up service or open. So for you, you need to keep the service open for 1 year. So yes, you need to enter it and keep it open for a year after exit, 12 months. And then do we need to print and sign the ISS at exit? No.
There is no.
No, you don't need to sign it, but you need to make sure everything's closed. Otherwise, you won't be able to complete the closure. So no signature, just make sure that it's closed in the plan tab of Career Connect. And then, yes, the follow-up service is only for the youth. We'll be covering the other follow-up when we have our policy letter for the adult and dislocated when that's released. Yes, the 1 year follow-up is only for the youth. And then, I'm guessing this is about the report. It's saying, so those that are OJT or an ITA will not come out on the come out.
Right.
Right.
If they have an open, right. So if they have an open ITA or OJT service, they won't be on the Days Since Last Service report because they have, that's considered an active open service. They won't show up on the report. Okay. So first you're going to pick your program. So for us, it's Title I, WIOA. If you want to run it by, if you work with multiple customer groups and you want to run it by customer group, you can. I'm not going to do that. I am going to pick an office. I'm going to pick Arlington Heights Workforce Center because when we train and test, we usually use that office because it's at the top of the alphabet. So I know I've got some data there. And then I'm going to skip all of this stuff. If you want to try to run it by case manager, you can. I know some of the reports work by case manager, some don't. So I would just say run it by your office. You can pick a day since last service, like if it's been 30 days or less, 61 to 90, 91 to 120 days. It'll only bring back customers in that group though. So I recommend, and the instructions indicate, just leave that as none selected. This is the really important filter. Exclude activities excluded from soft exit. And that, I know we don't do soft exit, so that language doesn't probably make a lot of sense. But basically, this is going to exclude support services and the services that don't count towards exit from your report. So I'm going to go ahead and click run the report. I'm going to make that yes, and I'm going to run my report. Any questions while we
No more questions.
I won't sing the Jeopardy song. I'll spare you guys. And I probably, it just ran yesterday, so it should, it's just, our staging site's been a little slow, our test site. Okay, well, while I'm waiting for that to pop up, I'm going to go back to our, where's our case management? The report. So, the other reports, I'm going to scroll up here, that we talked about today are based on things that, for procedures we talked about today. We do have the obtained employment report. What you should know is this report, and I believe this is in the description, this report currently captures employment earned during the program, so that anything entered in the employment bar or at exit and at follow-up. So it captures all of that employment. We are going to work with GeoSalt on getting a report that just includes the employment in the employment bar, so the in-program placement number, but this does include that. You will probably have to deduplicate it, but you can still use that for your numbers. So that's how to run that report. And then the other report that is in here, so you guys can't see the little webinar thing tool that we have, but it keeps getting in my way. Oops, no, okay, there we go. And then the other, it's right above it, is our credentials report. This gives you the credentials again, and this is any data that was entered in the credential bar, and you can run those reports as well out of Career Connect. So all of that, all of those instructions are in the report instructions on the help desk, and they're right on the front page of the help desk. All right, let me, my report ran. See, as soon as I walk up, go away, it comes up. So you can see here, oh, and as usual, this, I gotta go back down here. I'll show you from the bottom, so I can scroll. So you've got your state ID number, your WIOA application ID, your customer name, the program, the assigned staff, the application date, the participation date, and the last activity date, and then the number of days since the last activity. And let me see if I can find one. Aha, here it is. One of my folks. I can show you. Sorry, I gotta scroll over here. I've got Joy Division, and I'm just gonna click here, and it's actually gonna take me right to this customer. And then I'm going to go to programs. Oh, except I should have shown you guys something else first. You can see this person has 4 services. Man, the site is slow. Okay. And my actual last service, most recent service, and was a support service on January 30th, but my last active service was looks like October 12th was my last, oh no, that was a support service. So October 11th was my last of 2017 was my last active service for this customer. And now hopefully the system will let me go back to this. I should have shown you this first. Okay, so if you see with my customer Joy Division here, when I get to my days since last service, you can see it was 140 days, and it gives me the date, the 10/11/2017 date, which was the date of the last active service. So this is now working. Again, this should be you should have access to run this report, I would guess, by the end of the week in Career Connect with that new filter. So any questions about how to run this report or any of the other related reports? All right. I am going to, since it looks like we have a little time, there was a question earlier about whether or not we could add a credential, update the credential. Who, Gabby, who is your customer that you had the credential for? Did you do it in staging?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Manny Flores.
Oh, Manny Flores. Okay, I think I was working with Manny Flores. Oh, yeah.
Isn't he the alderman?
Oh, Manny Flores. Okay, I had Manny Ramirez. Okay. Okay. So.
And the alderman.
Well, that definitely doesn't take any credentials in this city. Sorry. Keep my political commentary to myself. All right, so I'm gonna get into his programs tab, and we'll see if we can edit that. And if not, I'll try and see if my idea for a workaround works. All right, I'm gonna go into the credential. Skills license. Oh yeah, it lets you edit it. For some reason I thought it wasn't letting me edit it the other day.
After.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Patty made a good comment. I think it's after exit that you can't edit. So if you need, yeah.
I also forgot to mention, I just thought about this right now, that they have up to a year from the application date to actually enter the credential,
Right.
regardless of whether the client is exited or not.
Yeah, so you can add a new credential after exit, like if you didn't learn about it, or maybe they got another credential on their career pathway that you can sort of tie back to WIOA. Well, but you can't edit after exit because the data is left out. But you can add. What it does is you have up to the end of the program year to make your skills gain. So that allows you, if you find out about it later or something, but you can't edit after exit. So I would say if you already have a credential in the system that you didn't put this additional information in, just leave it. But going forward for new credentials, please put this in. But if you need an edit to a credential after exit, then submit a help desk ticket. But if everybody wants to update theirs, it'll be too much for us. We won't be able to do it. So in this case, oh no, it's not letting me. Oh, maybe I'm just. No, actually, it's not letting me delete edit. Okay, so I'm gonna try a workaround here. I'm gonna switch my credential type. I used to say you guys should call me Career Connect. Now you should call me the Queen of Workarounds. Now it'll let me, but now I'll go back and put it to occupational skills license. You're kind of resetting the page a little bit. And I'll say Illinois Secretary of State. Sorry. And I know I spelled that. Weird typo there. So this, if I do that, if I set my credential received to something else and then set it back, it'll sort of reset that other field and it'll let me update it. Kind of thought that might happen. So I do think Patty might be right though that it may not let you edit after exit. You can try it if you want to update your credentials, but if not, then just do that going forward for new credentials that you're adding. Any other?
2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Says 1, can we pull the following reports in Career Connect? It says outcomes preliminary, outcomes year-to-date, outcomes final, the performance reports.
No, right now the performance reports I don't believe are working in either system. Yeah, so I don't think they're working in IWDS either because the state hasn't finalized the performance calculations yet, and we are not quite sure when that's happening.
And then it says that means we add a credential after a customer has been exited.
You could, like if
before the year's up.
yeah, like while they're in that 4 quarters of follow-up period, you can put that credential in, it will transfer to iWIDS, and it will be included in performance. I know in most cases, the credentials would be earned prior to exit, but like let's say you learn about it after exit, or maybe they finished their training and they got a job, but they didn't actually get their final certification till a month or 2 later or something, you could add it.
But if you know they have it before, during the program, you should just go ahead and enter it.
Right, you can enter it at any time.
You don't have to wait until exit or after exit.
Right, exactly. So you've got up to a year to add it. Are there any other questions? All right. Let me see, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick here. Hopefully you all already know this, but any more questions? Our little lion is going out like a lamb. No? Sorry, just had to do it. And so these are upcoming webinars. Also, hopefully, Jan Terry sent out a email yesterday, I believe. We have scheduled the adult and dislocated and the youth in-person case management training. We opened them up to people on the waiting list first, but there were some slots available. So if you or anybody in your organization needs those and has not signed up, please sign up ASAP, because those seats will go fast. We also have our upcoming income calculation webinar next Wednesday, and then on the 21st, we have our case notes webinar. We have some upcoming job developer training. Again, the link is there on the help desk site for training, and all the registration links and dates and full details are on there. And unless there's any other questions, we are good. Any more questions, Christy?
No more questions.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the same bat channel, same bat time next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.